Look at that guy. He's wearing pajamas to a restaurant. That's so weird. 12-year-old Ethan Patterson pointed and laughed at the man sitting alone at a corner table of the busy diner. The man wore gray sweatpants and a simple t-shirt, his shoulders hunched forward as he stared at his phone. His left hand trembled slightly as he lifted his coffee cup. Ethan's parents were at the counter ordering, leaving him unsupervised for just a moment. But that moment was enough for him to approach the stranger's table, phone out, recording. Hey, mister! Why are you wearing pajamas? Did you just wake up? The man looked up, and Ethan noticed his eyes looked tired, with dark circles underneath. He appeared to be in his late 20s, with a close-cropped military haircut that Ethan didn't recognize as significant. I'm just having lunch. Please go back to your table. The man's voice was quiet, almost flat. But Ethan took it as weakness, as an invitation to push further. You look homeless, or something. Do you even have money to pay for food? Because my dad has plenty of money. We eat at nice restaurants, not wearing pajamas like a weirdo. Ethan! His mother, Jennifer Patterson, rushed over, having seen what was happening. Get away from that man right now! But Ethan was filming now, and his friends were watching his live stream. He had an audience. He couldn't back down. Mom, look at him! He's dressed like he's going to bed. It's embarrassing. They shouldn't let people like this into restaurants! The man's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. He just went back to looking at his phone, clearly trying to ignore the situation. Ethan moved closer, emboldened by his mother's hesitation to physically drag him away in a public place. What are you looking at on your phone? Trying to figure out where the nearest homeless shelter is? Ethan James Patterson, you stop this instant! Jennifer finally grabbed his arm, but Ethan twisted away. It's a free country, Mom. I can say what I want, and this guy needs to know that normal people don't dress like this in public. An older woman at a nearby table stood up, her face stern. Young man, you need to leave that soldier alone. Ethan laughed. Soldier? This guy? Yeah, right. Soldiers wear uniforms. This guy looks like he just rolled out of bed. The older woman's expression hardened. That man is wearing what's probably the only comfortable clothes he can tolerate right now. You need to apologize and walk away. Why, should I? He's the one who served his country. The woman's voice rang through the diner, silencing the ambient chatter. Those pajamas you're mocking are what people with severe injuries wear when regular clothes are too painful. Look at him. Really, look. Ethan finally paid attention to more than just the man's clothes. The trembling hand. The way he sat carefully, like movement hurt. The phone he was staring at, which showed what looked like physical therapy exercises. But Ethan was too committed to his performance now. His live stream had over 100 viewers. He couldn't back down without looking weak. So, what if he's hurt? That doesn't give him the right to come to a restaurant looking like that. There are standards. Right, Mom? Jennifer looked mortified, torn between disciplining her son and not wanting to cause more of a scene. Her husband, Robert, was still at the counter, oblivious to what was happening. The diner manager approached, a middle-aged woman named Rosa, who'd run the place for 20 years. Young man, I need you to return to your table immediately, or I'll have to ask your family to leave. Good! Maybe you should ask him to leave. He's making everyone uncomfortable. Rosa's eyes flashed with anger. The only person making anyone uncomfortable is you. Captain Morris is a regular customer here and is always welcome, no matter what he's wearing. Captain. Ethan faltered slightly. The man, Captain Morris, finally spoke again, his voice still quiet, but with an edge now. It's fine, Rosa. Let the kid have his moment. He clearly needs the attention. Ethan bristled at being called a kid. I don't need attention. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. You look ridiculous. Captain Morris set down his phone and looked directly at Ethan for the first time. You're right. I do look ridiculous. Do you want to know why? I don't care why. I think you should care. The older woman from earlier moved closer. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. I work at the VA hospital. Captain Morris is one of my patients. He's wearing comfortable clothes because 3 months ago, he was caught in an explosion in Afghanistan that killed 3 of his men and left him with burns over 30% of his body. Regular clothes rub against his skin grafts and cause him excruciating pain. Ethan's phone wavered. The live stream comments were starting to turn against him. I didn't know that. No, you didn't. Because you didn't ask. You just assumed. You just judged. Dr. Chen's voice was sharp. This man spent 2 months in a burn unit. He's been through 8 surgeries. He has physical therapy 5 times a week. And today was the first day he felt strong enough to come out in public alone, to try to do something normal like eat lunch. And you decided to mock him and record it for your social media. Ethan looked at the comments on his stream. Dude, you're mocking a veteran. This is disgusting. Unfollowing. Someone needs to teach this kid some respect. That soldier sacrificed for ungrateful brats like this. His viewer count was dropping rapidly. Ethan tried to shut off the stream, but his phone froze. The screen stuck on the image of Captain Morris sitting quietly at his table. Jennifer finally found her voice. Captain Morris, I am so deeply sorry. My son has no excuse for this behavior. Captain Morris shook his head slowly. He's 12. He's young. He made a mistake. It's more than a mistake. Rosa the Kaiwan, manager said. It's cruelty, and it's not acceptable in my restaurant. She turned to Jennifer. Mom, I'm going to have to ask your family to leave. We don't tolerate harassment of any customers, but especially not veterans. Please, let me make this right. Let me. There's nothing to make right. Your son's actions speak to how he's been raised. He needs to learn that there are consequences. Robert Patterson finally arrived, having paid for food they wouldn't be eating. What's going on? Your son harassed and mocked a war veteran, Dr. Chen explained. Recorded it for social media. Made fun of his clothes, which he wears because of combat injuries. Your family is being asked to leave. Robert's face went from confused to angry to ashamed in rapid succession. He looked at Captain Morris. Sir, I apologize on behalf of my family. This is unacceptable. But Captain Morris was looking at Ethan, who stood frozen, his phone finally shutting off, tears starting to form in his eyes. Not tears of remorse yet, but tears of humiliation at being called out publicly. How old are you? Captain Morris asked. 12, Ethan whispered. When I was 12, I wanted to be a soldier. I watched war movies and played video games and thought combat was heroic and glorious. Do you know what combat is really like? Ethan shook his head. It's terrifying. It's watching your friends die. It's making split-second decisions where someone lives or someone dies. It's coming home with injuries that will never fully heal and memories that will never go away. He held up his trembling left hand. This shakes because of nerve damage. I can't control it. I used to play guitar. I can't anymore. I used to rock climb. I can't anymore. I used to do a lot of things that I'll never do again. He gestured to his clothes. These sweatpants, they're 2 sizes too big because anything tighter presses on my skin grafts. This shirt, it's the softest material I could find because regular cotton feels like sandpaper on my burns. I look ridiculous. I know I do. But this is my life now. Ethan's tears were flowing freely now, and this time they were real. I'm sorry. I didn't know. You should never have to know someone's story to treat them with basic respect, Dr. Chen interjected. That's the problem. You saw someone different and decided to mock them. What if Captain Morris was homeless? Would that make it okay? What if he had a mental health condition? Would that make it okay? What if he just preferred comfortable clothes? Would any of those things justify your behavior? Ethan shook his head, unable to speak. Captain Morris continued, his voice still quiet but carrying through the now silent diner. Do you know what I was looking at on my phone when you interrupted me? Pictures of the 3 men who died in the explosion that injured me. Today is the anniversary of that day. I come here every year on this day because it was their favorite diner. We used to eat here when we were home on leave. He turned his phone around, showing Ethan a photo of 4 men in uniform, all smiling, arms around each other. Captain Morris was in the center, looking younger and uninjured. That's Sergeant Mike Torres. He was 23. He had a baby daughter he never got to meet because she was born a week after he died. That's Corporal David Chen, Dr. Chen's son. He was 21 and wanted to be a teacher when he got out. And that's Private First Class James Rodriguez. He was 19, the same age as your older brother, based on the photos on your mother's phone case. Ethan looked at the photo, really looked at it. 4 young men, full of life, 3 of them now dead. And Captain Morris, alive but forever changed. I'm sorry, Ethan sobbed. I'm so sorry. Captain Morris set his phone down. I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to really hear it. I didn't serve so that people like you could mock veterans, but I also didn't serve to be put on a pedestal. I served because I believed in protecting people's freedom, including your freedom to be cruel and make mistakes. He looked at Ethan's parents. Your son is young. He can learn from this, but he needs real consequences, not just an apology and moving on. Rosa, the manager, spoke up. The family is still banned from this establishment. I understand, Jennifer said quietly. She looked at Captain Morris. Is there anything we can do? Any way to make this right? Captain Morris thought for a moment. Yes, actually. There's a VA hospital about 20 miles from here. They have a youth volunteer program. Kids come in and spend time with veterans, help with recreational activities, learn about service and sacrifice. Your son should volunteer there. For 6 months, minimum. He looked at Ethan directly. You want to understand why you shouldn't mock people? Volunteer at the VA. Meet veterans with PTSD who can barely function in public. Meet amputees learning to walk again. Meet burn victims, like me, going through endless, painful recovery. Learn what service costs. Robert Patterson nodded immediately. We'll make that happen. Ethan will be there every weekend. I don't want to, Ethan protested weakly. You don't have a choice, his father said firmly. You caused this situation. You humiliated a veteran. You embarrassed our family. And most importantly, you revealed that we failed to teach you basic human decency. That changes now. Dr. Chen pulled out a business card. I coordinate the youth volunteer program at the VA. Call me tomorrow. We'll get Ethan registered. She looked at Ethan with a mixture of sternness and compassion. My son died serving his country. Captain Morris survived, but will never be the same. You get to volunteer at a hospital and learn some lessons. That's not a punishment. That's a gift. Don't waste it. As the Patterson family prepared to leave, Ethan approached Captain Morris one more time. I really am sorry, sir. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I mean it. Captain Morris studied him for a long moment. I believe you're sorry you got caught. Whether you're actually sorry for your actions, that remains to be seen. Show me through your actions at the VA. Show me by treating people better. Show me by being someone worth respecting. The family left in silence. The drive home was tense, with Robert lecturing about respect and consequences, while Jennifer cried quietly in the passenger seat. Ethan sat in the back, his phone, turned off, replaying everything that had happened. The video from his live stream had already gone viral, but not in the way he'd hoped. People were condemning him, sharing his name and school information, calling him cruel and entitled. His social media accounts were being flooded with angry messages. "Your accounts are being deleted," his father said. "All of them. No social media for a year. And your phone is being downgraded to a basic model. No camera, no internet. Just calls and texts. Dad, that's not fair. Everyone will what? Think less of you? They already do. Your video is everywhere. You mocked a war hero. You recorded it and broadcast it. There are consequences for that." That Saturday, Ethan arrived at the VA hospital, nervous and resentful. Dr. Chen met him at the entrance. "Welcome to your education, Ethan. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to make this easy. You're going to see things that will make you uncomfortable. You're going to meet people whose lives have been forever changed by service. And you're going to learn what real sacrifice looks like." She led him through the hospital, introducing him to various veterans. First was MOCKS, a double amputee who'd lost both legs to an IED. He was cheerful despite his injuries, joking with nurses, and working hard in physical therapy. "Lost my legs, not my spirit," Marcus said with a grin when Dr. Chen introduced Ethan. "You're the kid from the video, right? The one who mocked. Captain Morris?" Ethan nodded, ashamed. "Kid, let me tell you something. We don't blame you for not understanding. How could you? You're 12. You've never been to war. You've never seen what we've seen. But now you have a choice. You can learn, or you can stay ignorant. Which is it going to be?" "Learn," Ethan said quietly. "I want to learn." Over the next few months, Ethan's worldview shifted dramatically. He met Sarah, a female veteran with PTSD so severe she could barely leave her house. He met Tom, whose traumatic brain injury left him struggling to remember his own family. He met dozens of men and women who'd given parts of themselves, sometimes literally, for their country. And every Saturday, he saw Captain Morris, who was there for his own physical therapy. At first, their interactions were awkward and brief, but gradually they began to talk. "How's therapy going?" Ethan asked one day, 4 months into his volunteer work. "Painful," Captain Morris admitted. "But better, I can wear a regular t-shirt now without it being agony. That's progress." "I'm really sorry about what I did. I know I've said it before, but I mean it more now. I understand what I didn't before." Captain Morris looked at him carefully. "What do you understand?" "That you're not just a soldier. You're a person who sacrificed everything. That those men in the photo weren't just statistics. They were real people with families and dreams. That your injuries aren't just physical. That every day is hard in ways I couldn't imagine." He gestured around the VA hospital. "And I understand that there are thousands of people like you. People who served and came home changed. People who deserve respect, not because they're heroes, though they are, but because they're human beings who suffered for something bigger than themselves." Captain Morris nodded slowly. "You've grown up a lot in 4 months." "I had to. I was being a terrible person. Not just that day at the diner, but in general. I judged people based on how they looked. I thought my life was the only one that mattered. I was cruel for attention and likes." He pulled out his basic flip phone. "I don't even miss social media anymore. It seems so stupid now. Worrying about views and followers when there are people here worried about walking again, or remembering their children's names, or managing their pain enough to sleep through the night." Captain Morris smiled, a real smile. "That's the lesson I hoped you'd learn. That there's a world beyond your own experience. That everyone you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about. That kindness costs nothing, but means everything." 6 months after the incident at the diner, there was a small ceremony at the VA hospital. Ethan was completing his required volunteer service, but he'd already signed up to continue. Dr. Chen addressed the gathered veterans and volunteers. "Ethan Patterson came here as a consequence of his actions. He mocked a veteran, showed disrespect and cruelty. Many people wrote him off as just another entitled kid. But Ethan chose to learn. He chose to grow. He chose to become better. She gestured to Captain Morris. "Captain, would you like to say something?" Captain Morris stood carefully, his movement still deliberate, but much improved. "When Ethan mocked me that day, I was at my lowest point. It was the anniversary of losing my men. I was in constant pain. I was struggling with whether recovery was even worth it. And this 12-year-old kid decided to make fun of my clothes and record it for the internet." He paused, and Ethan held his breath, still carrying guilt even after all these months. I could have let it destroy what little faith I had left in humanity. Instead, I saw an opportunity, not to punish, but to teach. And Ethan proved that people can change. That young people, especially, can learn and grow when given the chance. He walked over to Ethan and handed him a folded flag. "This is a replica of the flag that covered Corporal David Chen's casket. Dr. Chen asked me to give it to you. She said that her son would have appreciated what you've become. That he'd have been proud of your transformation." Ethan took the flag with shaking hands, tears streaming down his face. "I don't deserve this." "No," Dr. Chen said gently. "You didn't deserve it 6 months ago, but you've earned it through your work here, through your dedication, through becoming someone who honors service rather than mocks it." After the Yad ceremony, Ethan found Captain Morris outside. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you give me a chance? Why didn't you just let them throw my family out and forget about me?" Captain Morris looked out at the parking lot, at the veterans coming and going for appointments and therapy. Because that's not what service means. Service isn't just about fighting. It's about building. It's about making things better. You were a kid heading down a wrong path. I had a choice. I could let you continue down that path and become someone terrible. Or I could try to redirect you. He turned to Ethan. "My 3 men died. I survived. I have to make that mean something. If I can help one person become better, if I can honor their sacrifice by improving the world in small ways, then their deaths weren't meaningless." Ethan clutched the folded flag. "I'm going to keep volunteering here, even though my requirement is done. I want to keep learning. I want to keep helping." "I know you will. You've proven that you're not the kid from that video anymore. You've become someone those 3 men would have been proud to know." Years later, Ethan would graduate high school and join the army himself. Not because of some romanticized view of war, but because he'd learned what service really meant. He'd learned it from Captain Morris, from Dr. Chen, from Marcus and Sarah and Tom, and dozens of other veterans who'd shared their stories and their struggles. On his first day of basic training, he carried in his bag a folded flag and a photo, the flag from David Chen's casket. The photo of 4 young soldiers from Captain Morris's phone, a reminder of what service cost and what it protected. The entitled child who'd mocked a soldier in a restaurant was gone. In his place stood a young man who understood that real strength wasn't about power or status or social media followers. It was about serving something larger than yourself. It was about treating people with dignity regardless of their circumstances. It was about learning from your mistakes and becoming better. And every time Ethan saw someone in comfortable clothes, someone who looked different, someone struggling, he remembered Captain Morris in that diner. He remembered the lesson learned the hard way, that everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about, and that kindness, respect, and compassion are never wasted. The kid with the phone recording for likes had become a man who understood what really mattered. And that transformation had started with a wounded veteran who chose to teach rather than condemn, to guide rather than punish, and to see potential where others saw only an entitled brat. That was the real meaning of service. Not just protecting the country, but protecting the future by shaping the next generation into people worth protecting.